Same phone, same factory, same box. Yet the price on the shelf can swing by hundreds of pounds depending on which airport you land at. Today, the 29th of July, 2026, the iPhone 17 Pro has become the clearest example anywhere of how differently the world taxes and prices an identical piece of technology. Fresh comparisons published this week by Euronews and the market analysts at Indexbox rank Turkey as the most expensive country on earth to buy an iPhone 17 Pro, with Japan the cheapest major market. Europe sits awkwardly in the middle, consistently paying more than American buyers for hardware that differs only in the packaging. Over the next few minutes I will show you exactly where that money goes, why the gap is structural rather than simple greed, and what it means if you are buying this week. Start with the headline figures. In the United States, the iPhone 17 Pro launched at $1,099 for the 256GB model, and crucially that number excludes sales tax. In the United Kingdom the same handset launched at £1,099, and that figure already includes 20% VAT. Across most of the eurozone the Pro sits comfortably above €1,200 once local tax is applied. The pattern repeats down the range. The standard iPhone 17 started at $799 and £799, and the ultra-thin iPhone Air at $999 and £999. Notice what is happening there. Apple does not simply convert the dollar price into local money. It sets a round local price, absorbs currency movement, then layers national tax on top. That is why a straight dollar to euro calculation never matches the till receipt. Three forces explain almost the entire gap. The first is tax presentation. American shelf prices are quoted before sales tax, which is added at the checkout at anywhere from 0% in Delaware and Oregon to roughly 9% in parts of California and Louisiana. European prices must be quoted tax inclusive by law. Strip out 20% UK VAT, 19% in Germany, 23% in Ireland, 25% in Denmark and Sweden, or 27% in Hungary, the highest rate in the European Union, and the underlying prices converge sharply. The second force is currency. Apple prices a year ahead and builds in a buffer against a falling euro or pound. The third is regulation, mandatory 2-year consumer guarantees, recycling levies, and compliance costs all sit inside the European price. The picture shifted only last week. On the 22nd of July, 2026, Apple introduced a lower-cost model, the iPhone 17e, while simultaneously raising prices across its MacBook line. That combination tells you a great deal about company strategy right now. Apple is defending the entry point of the iPhone range, where price sensitivity is highest and where markets such as India, Brazil, and Southern Europe are growing fastest, while pushing increases through products bought by less price-sensitive professional customers. For European buyers the 17e matters because it lands under the psychological thresholds that VAT pushes the Pro models well beyond. It also quietly distorts comparison tables. When analysts declare the iPhone unaffordable in a given country, they are almost always measuring the Pro, not the model most people in that country actually buy. Now the extremes. The July 2026 comparison from Indexbox puts Turkey at the top of the global price table, and the reason is not Apple. Turkey applies a special consumption tax on mobile phones on top of standard VAT of 20%, and years of lira depreciation have forced repeated local price resets. The result is a device costing a multiple of what the same handset costs a 3-hour flight away. At the other end sits Japan, ranked the cheapest major market. A persistently weak yen has left Japanese list prices lagging behind the dollar, and visitors can reclaim consumption tax at the point of sale, widening the gap further. Within Europe the same logic creates a spread. Switzerland, with VAT of just over 8%, is reliably among the cheapest places on the continent, while the Nordics and Hungary sit near the top. So what does that mean in practice? Cross-border buying has become routine. Shoppers in high VAT countries increasingly buy while traveling, and non-EU residents can reclaim VAT on departure, which is why Apple stores in Zurich, Dubai, and Tokyo attract disproportionate tourist traffic. but there are real traps. American iPhones from the 14 onwards have no physical SIM tray and are eSIM only, which is fine on most European networks now, yet still awkward with certain prepaid providers. Warranty is the bigger issue. Apple's hardware warranty is generally international, but Apple Care plans and the European Union's statutory 2-year guarantee are tied to where you bought the device. And customs is not optional. Carrying a phone worth more than your personal allowance back into the UK or the EU means declaring it and paying the very VAT you were trying to dodge. Price tags only tell half the story. A study highlighted back in March 2026 measured the iPhone 17 Pro not in currency but in working days, and the spread was extraordinary, roughly 3 days of average net pay in the wealthiest markets, against about 160 days at the other end of the scale. In practical UK terms, someone on median full-time earnings needs around a week and a half of gross pay for a Pro. In Switzerland or Luxembourg it is a matter of days. Across parts of Eastern Europe and much of the developing world it stretches into months. That is precisely why installment plans, network contracts, and the refurbished market dominate iPhone sales in Europe far more than in the United States, and why Apple leans so heavily on trade-in values to soften the headline number. 3 near-term signals are worth watching. First, tax. VAT rates across Europe have been drifting upwards as governments repair budgets, and every percentage point lands directly on the shelf price. Second, currency. If the euro and the pound hold their ground against the dollar, Apple has historically waited for the next launch cycle rather than cutting mid-year, so any relief arrives with the autumn range, traditionally unveiled in September. Third, component and manufacturing costs. Apple's decision on the 22nd of July to raise MacBook prices while launching a cheaper phone suggests it is protecting iPhone volume and recovering margin elsewhere. Put those together and the realistic expectation for European buyers is stability rather than reductions this summer, with the whole pricing conversation reopening when the next generation is announced in roughly 6 weeks. Here is the honest conclusion. The iPhone 17 Pro is not dearer in Europe because Apple charges Europeans more for the phone itself. It is dearer because Europe shows you the full price, taxes consumption heavily, and bundles and legal rights the American price never includes. Strip out VAT and the underlying figures sit far closer together than the headlines suggest. If you are buying this week, keep it simple. Compare tax-inclusive prices only, never advertised American ones. Check trade-in and installment offers before fixating on the sticker price. Remember that Apple has sold more than 3 billion iPhones since Steve Jobs announced the first one on the 9th of January, 2007, and it rarely trims prices mid-cycle. And if you are tempted to buy abroad, do the customs arithmetic before assuming you have saved a thing.